Are we all connected? Look, let me make sure we're locked and loaded everywhere. Let me make sure we are good to go on all platforms. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right. All right. I see us up on YouTube. I just got the join now on LinkedIn. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to day 2, where we will be going through a 30-day challenge, learning and experiencing and growing together, learning the MetaSpark application. This is Meta's native application to learn augmented reality. It's going to be used in marketing in so many different ways that haven't even come to fruition yet. It's already being implemented in so many different ways that we're familiar with, but we may not know exactly how to use it or create it ourselves. I know that I'm one of those people. So what I decided to do over these next 30 days is every single day go through a portion of Meta's free curriculum that they've made available. There's 3 courses, one in the beginner, the intermediate, and then the advanced phase. And then there's a certification that you can apply and take at the end. So what the goal is to go ahead and over the next 30 days, go in, learn all this information, learn out loud in front of you all. We literally have, the video that'll play out loud so that we can all learn together. I'll be switching back and forth between taking notes, watching the video, and then actually going in and applying it, right? I actually have the player open as well. I'll probably close it down and start back fresh from whatever we're talking about today, because this was from yesterday's lesson. So I'm gonna go ahead and or can I just close this project? But with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and kick this thing off. Again, we'll be starting with day number 2, which, if we go ahead and pull up our notes, if you look at day 1, we were able to watch the Learn Augmented Reality with Spark AR video. And then the second one was create your first AR effect. Okay, we got some really good notes in there as well. So day one is in the books. Okay, now we are moving on to day number 2, ladies and gentlemen. All right, day number 2. Let me get some day number 2s in the chat. When you your own chat. Hey, we in there. All right. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and kick this video off. Let's go ahead and get into it. My boy Forrest, don't play, bro.
To use a block to build a really cool effect. We're now going to turn to creating custom assets for our effects. And to do this, we're going to build a texture that we can apply to the face. The starting point for this is going to be on the welcome window. If I want to paint my own texture to use on the face inside Spark AR Studio, it's going to help if I have a guide to make sure when I paint that texture and apply it to the face, it aligns correctly. So to help here, we have the face reference assets that you'll find underneath the Learn tab. We can scroll to the bottom and an article here. If this article is not there, we'll add a URL just underneath this video that you can use to link through to it. And once clicking on it, you'll end up here using the Spark AR Studio.
All right, let's see if we have the exact same thing. Hold on. I think I need to refresh Spark. OBS. I'm looking for my Spark player. Oh, maybe because it's in. Okay. Okay, they wanted us to open that up. Well, let's go ahead and continue watching so we can follow right along. I was gonna close down my my browser, or my OBS Studio, but since he hasn't necessarily told us what the next step is, we're just gonna hold off for a second and see.
face reference assets. With a bit of help and guidance there, the face reference assets include the 3D model for the mesh, which you can use to align 3D geometry to it if you have those skills, if you can build 3D stuff. But they also have the texture that's applied to the face here. And so if I download this package, grab that texture and bring it into my image editing software of choice, in this case, I'm using Adobe Photoshop, it's going to look like this. From there, I can add new layers over the top, paint whatever custom textures I like, and then I can disable the reference layer to include my transparency, save this out as a PNG with transparency, and then from there, I can bring it into Spark AR Studio.
All right, I think that was a pretty big pretty big bar. They get right into it. I ain't gonna lie, they get right into it. So essentially what he was saying was that, you know, there are basically templates that are available through Spark, through Metaspark. You can download those and, you know, open them in whatever native platform that you're most used to. In his case, he was using Photoshop. So he brought in basically what the face would look like, that base core of the face. And I have it pulled up here. The site that he was mentioning. But what I will say is, download the face reference assets. Okay, bet. So yeah, so he downloaded these and was able to kind of manipulate the actual face that was given. And then I guess that's a way that we're going to be able to go in and you know, customize it ourselves. So let's get into it.
I've created a new blank scene here to use as my base to start assembling my face texture effect. So I've exported this pop texture.png, and you'll be able to download this from underneath the video. And with that PNG texture, I can simply drag it across into the asset panel and release. It now exists there as an asset that I can use inside my effect. Next, I need to add a face mesh object that I can assign that texture to. There are lots of different object types inside Spark that are generic.
What file did he bring in real quick? I got it downloaded.
I've created a new blank scene here to use as my base to start assembling my face texture effect. So I've exported this pop texture.png, and you'll be able to download this from underneath the video. And with that PNG texture, I can simply drag it across into...
Okay, that is separate. Okay, you can find the face reference assets here. Pop texture PNG. Cool. All right, we got that downloaded. Let me open it up. Come back to the video. Let's go ahead and bring that into our assets folder on Studio. Oh man, sorry. I still haven't even brought it up yet. Here we go. Spark. There we go. There we go. Metaspark. There we go. All right, bet. Let me make it a little wider so it fits full screen. Okay, cool. So again, if you guys look, let me turn on my my mouse highlighter as well. So if you look here in the bottom left-hand corner, you're gonna see again your assets tab. So we have, I'll do it again. I'll bring it all the way from external. So I'll delete it here real quick. And again, the PNG, if you're following along, the PNG is actually on the website. So let me pull that up real quick. If you're watching the video, simply scroll down a little bit, and then you're going to be able to see the additional asset right there. Simply download it, come back, pull your video back up, and then go ahead and open up Studio. All right, open up Studio to a brand new project. And once you have it opened up, in the bottom bottom left-hand corner, all right, in the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see your assets folder. Then you're going to want to press the plus symbol. Once you go ahead and press that plus symbol, then you're going to want to import from your computer. All right, typically, honestly, I like to just open up my viewfinder, drag and drop things in. So then that way, if I need to bring in more than one thing, my viewfinder is always still open and I can just keep dragging. So that's typically how I move. So we're going to name this texture. We'll keep it pop texture because we're importing it from another project. But Again, I'm a big proponent on being very, very meticulous as it pertains to your file organization and file naming. Okay, so I'm sure as projects get a little more difficult, we'll get into that a little bit as well as we move forward. All right, let's go ahead and roll the video. You coming along good, Yoshi? I bet. Oh, I got my dog Yoshi in the cut too today. You know what I'm saying? Yoshi in the cut with me, man. So we working, bro. Y'all gonna see, man. A month from now, y'all just gonna see. All right, we working.
To the asset panel and release. It now exists there as an asset that I can use inside my effect. Next, I need to add a face mesh object that I can assign that texture to. There are lots of different object types inside Spark that are generic objects we use to construct our effects. So we don't need to bring them in as an asset. They all exist underneath the Add Object panel. And if I go to Add Object, you'll see we have one here for face mesh. So with it selected, I'll click Insert.
Okay. So he said we're gonna go into Studio and we're going to go into our scene, and he said type in face mesh. Once we type in face mesh, you guys can't see the menus. I do not like that about this. All right, so once you go ahead and press plus, again, I have to remember to talk through these. So right here, you're gonna press plus in your scene sector, press the plus symbol, then you're gonna go ahead and type in the word face, and then you're gonna see face mesh and face tracker. We're gonna go with face mesh and then press insert. Okay, now on mine, I don't see absolutely anything, but that's my fault because I have not turned on the video in the top left hand corner. Okay, as soon as I tap video, I select one of the people, boom, I have the person and I have my face mesh. If y'all want somebody a little cuter, you know what I'm saying? Hold up. Oh, they ain't even rocking with me, dog. They ain't rock with your boy. It look like it's trying. It's trying. The little engine that could. All right, we're just gonna rock with the defaults. Okay. All right, so we have our face mesh in. Okay. Boom. Good. So let's see where we at with it.
And I immediately get a face mesh showing up in the 3D world. It's being filmed by the device and showing up in the simulator here. And we'll notice that it's got a checkerboard on it. The checkerboard is telling me that there's no material assigned right now. And a material is a description of the surface properties. What does this appear to be painted as? Before we create the material, which we need to assign the texture, you'll notice that I have little holes for my eyes and for my mouth. And if I have the properties showing up for the face mesh, because it's currently selected, you'll see with the eyes, I can turn these little check marks on and off to make those eye holes visible or not visible. And same thing with the mouth. So if you ever want that control, a description of the surface properties, what does this appear to be? Selected, I'll click insert, and I immediately get a face mesh showing up in the 3D world. It's being filmed by the device and showing up in the simulator here. And we'll notice that it's got a checkerboard on it. The checkerboard is telling me that there's no material assigned right now. And a material is a description of the surface properties. What does this appear to be painted as? Before we create the material, which we need to assign the texture, you'll notice that I have little holes for my eyes and for my mouth. And if I have the properties showing up for the face mesh, because it's currently selected, you'll see with the eyes, I can turn these little check marks on and off to make those eye holes visible or not visible. And same thing with the mouth. So if you ever want that control, that's where you're going to find it. Next, we'll have a look at the material. So you'll see we have a little property slot here in the property inspector for the mesh that I currently have selected for the material. And to the right-hand side, I have a little plus button. At the moment, again, no material assigned, but I can use this.
Yeah, I don't think I had that. Hold on. Face Oh, I had the wrong. I was clicking face tracker instead of face mesh. Yeah. So, okay. So let me run it back about 15 seconds. And then we're going to recap, chat. We're going to recap.
Little check marks on and off to make those eye holes visible or not visible. And same thing with the mouth. So if you ever want that control, that's where you're going to find it. Next, we'll have a look at the material. So you'll see we have a little property slot here in the property inspector for the mesh that I currently have selected for the material. And to the right-hand side, I have a little plus button. At the moment, again, no material assigned, but I can use this plus button to create a new material, in this case, material 0, and assign it to that mesh. This is a standard material type, and it's being lit up by the ambient and directional lights that we have in our scene by default. And we'll go through some of those properties in a little moment. But first of all, let's start editing these material properties and explore what these materials actually are. If I double click on it, it'll bring up the properties for the material itself, switching to the material properties. And at the very top, I have the shader type. So depending on what I want this to look like, there might be different shader types that are more or less appropriate to use. Let's explore some of them. We're on standard. We'll come back to standard later on, but we'll switch from the shader type standard to retouching. And with retouching selected, this is one that we can use for smoothing out all of the skin tone, and we use it very much for these kind of beauty purposes. There's a slider for the amount of smoothing. You'll see if I drag it up. It's now very strong, and it's powered by a texture that's been automatically created for us and is now living in this asset panel. If I change my shader type from retouching through to, let's try face paint, then with my face paint one selected, I can use this to create what it says on the tin, face paint style effects. At the moment, it's just showing up black and white because I don't have any textures assigned. So if I go to the texture options here, go to the drop down and choose my pop texture, which I've imported, so it's available to me, we can see now it actually looks like the blue colors of this texture are being painted on my face. We can still see the beard detail through it. We can still see some of my skin tone, some of my wrinkles, and so on. So it actually appears as if it's been painted onto that surface. And the face paint material type gives us some controls for opacity, which I can use to drag up and down. How transparent is this particular material? We then have another slider for background influence. So do we want it to just look kind of flat and just be generally lit up by the layer below? Or do we want to show a lot of that detail from the skin texture underneath through that surface? And we then also have brightness. So how much do we want the brightness of the camera feed to affect the texture that's layered over the top? So we can really kind of dial that in, craft it in, and get it looking exactly how we want. But for this, we're creating very much a classic kind of pop art style texture, and flatness is really crucial to that. We don't really want real world lighting. We want it to look like a comic book. So for that, we can go up to the shader type, and we've then got a shader type called flat, which completely ignores all of the lighting that's in my scene, and it doesn't have any of that special power going on with the face paint type where it's reading the layer below and interpreting that into what it's rendering out. Instead, we just have the texture layered straight in here. We have an option for environment, which we can use to fake reflections over the top. We have an option for alpha, where we can plug in a new texture if we turn it on to add extra transparency to this texture, which can be convenient and handy for building complex looks. And we then have some advanced options, which we'll look at shortly, as well as opacity again, just to make it different degrees of transparency.
I think that's a good stopping point. Ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, are they cooking up or what? I feel like I'm already ready to go ahead and start hitting brands up. Like, what up? Book me. We ready. We rocking and rolling. All right. So let's go ahead and let's review this. Can I pull my chat over here? That's quick. My boy, Tamar, what's happening with you, Brody? We ain't allowed, man. We cooking up right now, man. But look, my dog was really just giving us a lot of games, so let's talk about it. I'm gonna switch over to the studio, and I'm gonna walk us through just a few of the things that he discussed. Because beautiful thing is, you guys are able to, watch it with us. You feel me? So with that being the case, I know you guys are, following along with this. So again, we have our face mesh that we added to our face tracker up here to the left. Okay, it's called Face Mesh 0. And when I click on Face Mesh 0, then on the far right hand side, you can see that the properties menu pops up for it. It allows us to say what layer we're on, if we want it visible or not. If we want to isolate that, it allows us to know, okay, which face is being tracked. What this tells me is there's going to be a time where when we bring multiple faces into our designs, we're going to be able to select which face we want our face mesh to go to. Because there are filters where if two people are in it, two people can react. So this is kind of foreshadowing that, in my opinion. And then if you come down to the bottom, right, still on the right hand side, he talked about the material. Okay, so the material portion is what we're actually looking at. Like, what is the material that's on it? So let me switch it back. I'm gonna put create new material, right? So this is what he had initially. Okay, anytime you create a new material, this is what we're gonna have out the gate. So then what we did was we went in and we double selected not yet. Boom. I'm gonna delete this material. Or yeah, we'll stay on this material. So when we double selected the material, what that did was bring up the actual properties for our material. So let me back that up just so that it's extremely clear. Okay? So we have a face mesh, right? We added a face mesh. When we have our face mesh, we have to add some type of material to it, okay? Because the black and white checkerboard is just the default, okay? Once we go down here to the word material, you press plus. All right, now that we press plus, we can either create a brand new material or we can select material 0. So we can go through a step-by-step together. I'm gonna create a new material because technically material 1 is 0 is the one we created. So I'll create new material. When you create a new material, it's going to have a white blank face kind of like this. All right. Let me check my eyes and mouth so that those will open up. Okay. If I uncheck it, it's like a super blank. Now I want it open. Right. So now I need to select the material. What material do we have? Well, remember at the very beginning, we imported the pop texture that we got from the website. So I'm coming down here to the material section. I double tap on that, okay? And then as soon as I tap on it and we choose which, was that it? Yeah, there we go. Now, the shader type is basically like how it's being applied. So he talked about retouching, that being, kind of like a makeup style effect. How much is being like how soft it is to the face. He talked about a face paint effect, where it'll show up black and white, and as you go in and add your effect, it'll change. In this instance, we're going to be using flat. Flat, he said, has no effect or no reaction to whatever lighting situation you have going on. So, what texture are we selecting? Material. Wait. Let's make sure we're right. There we go. All right. So now we're back at the same step that we were at before, okay? We imported the asset to begin with into our asset tab. Then we went in and created a face mesh. We selected the face mesh and, changed the property of it so that it could actually be our PNG. Then with that PNG, we changed it to flat, and that's the actual texture that we applied. So good so far. We should be able to, you should be able to get a little jiggy. Let me get a little jiggy real quick. Let me see a little song. Let me see something real quick. Face mesh. The material. Double click. I slick think I'm doing something wrong when I double click the face material like that. You got face mesh. Material. Oh, it's the button to the left of the material. Okay. Create new material. Okay. And then when I double click on that material, it pulls up the whole. Okay. And then you can bring in your photo. Okay. All right, now y'all. All right, I think we're cooking. Let me open my eyes, open my mouth. Cool. So look, yo. Don't play with DH. All right, bet. Cool. So let me delete these.
Imagine you doing like a little Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, like a face mask. Yeah, for sure. All right, bet. Give me 1 second. Delete. Want to make sure we are all on the same page. Material 0. Boom. Let's get it. How about the city passengers? Flat. Boom. All right.
We can go even simpler than this. Probably the simplest shader type of all, which is blended. And you'll see here a lot of those other options for environment and alpha disappeared. And all we're doing is layering in just the texture and an opacity slider, and that's it. So for this pop art look, for the texture that I'm applying to my face, I'm going to leave it on blended, where we're not even looking at the lighting at all. We're keeping it really graphic. And from here, we can move into having a look at some 3D models as well. I've also used the face reference assets to create a 3D model of some glasses that are going to align to the face really nicely for us. So just like the texture, you can download these from under the video, called popglasses.fbx, and we can drag them into the asset panel to get ready to bring them into the actual effect. So before we do, let's just take a quick look. When we created the face mesh, it also created a face tracker for us. The face tracker is responsible for detecting the location and the rotation of the head. And the face mesh is what's actually looking at the face and warping and contouring to follow what the face is doing. So if we want the glasses to track to the head, we need to make sure we're parenting them underneath, or parenting them to the face tracker itself, which is reporting back the location of the head. So a bit abstract. Let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. If I were to grab the pop glasses asset and just drag...
Wait, when did he bring in glasses?
On the website.
It's on. Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay. Oh, right up under. Gotcha. Cool. FBX. Hot glasses. All right.
Drag them into my scene hierarchy here and release them. You can see the glasses have been instantiated into the viewport, into the scene, but they're not actually tracked to the face. They're just floating here doing nothing. So to get the glass...
My bad, y'all. Let me show y'all that. That's good. So we imported the pop glasses. Again, that's on the website. Scroll down. I didn't scroll down far enough the last time. So now that we brought in the asset, okay. Oh, it's all right. All right. Now that we brought in the asset, you are seeing the glasses, yes, but like you said, it's not actually tracking. So I believe what he was going to get at is that we have to make sure that the pop glasses are parented, which means it's up under the drop down of the actual face tracker. Right now, as you can see, like I wish I could zoom in for you guys, but as you can see, these are all drop downs, toggles, right? Big shout out Notion. So if I open up focal distance, then you can see I opened up focal distance. Now I have face tracker and I have pop glasses, which means those are two separate. What needs to happen is I'm opening up face tracker and I'm opening up pop glasses, or I don't need to open up pop glasses. Pop glasses need to be up under the face tracker. Boom. You ain't even have to tell me. All right. So now what does that look like for us? Now we have the glasses actually on the face and they're actually tracking. So now we have two items that are independent of each other. The face mesh, the blue mask and the glasses are now tracking because it's up under the face tracker. But those are two independent features. As a matter of fact, I wonder if they'll let me put the face mask mesh on top of the pop glasses. Boom. Well, I guess it don't matter because of length or like depth. So one is probably further than the other, which is why it's allowing it to look like that. But whichever one happens to be on top of each other actually does make a difference when it comes to, making these experiences. So good. Let's go back into it. Whoa, what they got going on? We got some spammers, bro. We done made it already? Hey, man. That's fine. Blocked. All right, let's get it.
To follow the face, we need to make sure we drag the glasses up and then either have a rectangle showing up around the face tracker or a little line showing up just underneath the face tracker before we release it.
Beautiful.
We'll then see that it has a slight little indent, and if we collapse the face tracker, it's almost like this is now a file inside the folder, which is the face tracker, to use a file management system analogy. But now that the pop glasses are underneath the face tracker, we can see they're inheriting the movement of the face and following my head as I move around. So from here, we can start to modify the look of them. So I'm going to wind down the little arrow for my pop glasses. And inside there, we have the actual model itself. And if I have the model selected, then over on the right-hand side, we can see these glasses already have a material assigned. They didn't show up as a checkerboard. They showed up with this mid-gray color. And if I double-click, move around. So from here, we can start to modify the look of them. So I'm going to wind down the little arrow for my pop glasses. And inside there, we have the actual model itself. And if I have the model selected, then over on the right-hand side, we can see these glasses already have a material assigned. They didn't show up as a checkerboard. They showed up with this mid-gray color. And if I double-click on the glasses material, you'll see it's already set to a shader type flat with a color swatch showing up this time under
Man, give me my DH glasses, man.
So let's get a little bit more interesting here. I'm going to go back to that standard material that we first saw, that standard shader type. Which is going to give us a bit more sophistication. The standard shader is actually reading the ambient and the directional.
I bet. Let me get back on task. All right. So he said, all right, just so that we're all on the same page, we brought in our pop glasses, okay? And now that we have the pop glasses parented within our face tracker, and what he mentioned was, when you bring these assets up into your scene, like there's going to be a small blue line or blue box that is indicating where you're pressing or where you're placing it. So be cognizant that you don't just get the drag and drop anywhere. Okay. The hierarchy, which is what we're calling it, right? It definitely matters. So once you have your pop glasses in, you should see a toggle button, a small arrow right next to it. You're going to go ahead and tap that, and that's going to allow for you to see your glasses model. And when you select the glasses model, again, looking to the right-hand side, it's going to pull up your properties again. Once you pull up the properties, come back down to your materials, and now we're looking to apply a particular material. So I'm going to pull back up the video and let him walk us through this next step.
Model selected. Then over on the right-hand side, we can see these glasses already have a material assigned. They didn't show up as a checkerboard. They showed up with this mid-gray color. And if I double-click on the glasses material, you'll see it's already set to a shader type flat with a color swatch showing up this time under diffuse for the color. So let's get a little bit more interesting here. I'm going to go back to that standard material that we first saw, that standard shader type, which is going to give us a bit more sophistication. The standard
coming
shader.
over there, yo. You in the game?
Yeah. Yeah.
Say that, man. You got your glasses in. He changing the color with the material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this, bro. Spectrum. Where the codes at? X.
Right. Hit him with a Yoshi green.
Talk about it, man. What's wrong with him, man? Let's see what my boy talking about. We rolling, y'all.
Yeah, is actually reading the ambient and the directional lights and calculating what it should look like based on those lights that are in the scene. And so you can see it's giving us a little bit of shaded area underneath the bottom of the glasses, a little bit more of a highlight on top. So before we start looking at these properties a bit more, we'll inspect the lights, but just to make it a bit more obvious what the lights are doing, let's click on the swatch for the diffuse color, which is where we can just set a flat color if we wish, so we can dial in something interesting. But to really see what's going on with the lights, I'm going to leave it on white and click OK. So now with my glasses frames set to white, we can look at the ambient light and the directional light. So I'm going to select the directional light and turn it off. So we're going to set its visibility to be off. And you can see the glasses frames have now gone quite dark, but they're not quite black. If I select the ambient light here and turn it on and off, let's click on the swatch for the diffuse color, which is where we can just set a flat color if we wish, so we can dial in something interesting. But to really see what's going on with the lights, I'm going to leave it on white and click OK. So now with my glasses frames set to white, we can look at the ambient light and the directional light. So I'm going to select the directional light and turn it off. So we're going to...
Yeah, when is he getting to that?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. The ambient.
Position.
I think he's in source.
Yeah, what?
Source over there. He actually clicked directional light and ambient light over here on the left hand side. Or face tracker is.
Oh.
Yeah, these.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna run him back to Lewis. Yep, he showed it. Good catch.
I'm going to leave it on white and click OK. So now with my glasses frames set to white, we can look at the ambient light and the directional light. So I'm going to select the directional light and turn it off. So we're going to set its visibility to be off. And you can see the glasses frames have now gone quite dark, but they're not quite black. If I select the ambient light here and turn it on and off, you can...
Yours went dark?
Yeah.
Hmm. Maybe he'll say it in the next.
You can see the result, but basically it's just giving a little bit of brightness lift to the scene, shining on these glasses from all directions. And if I were to turn the intensity up, you can see the result now, it's much stronger. So ambient is basically just a light that's shining from all directions. And I've turned the intensity now back down to 20. And now with the directional light selected, I can turn this one back on and we can see the huge contribution to the overall look that the directional light is making, where we're getting a stronger highlight across the top of frames, the shading along the bottom, because it is appearing to come from, surprisingly enough, a specific direction, which is represented by the handle that we can see here in the viewport. We'll come to editing those lights in the next lesson. But what we can do with the directional light for now is just experiment with the color, for example. If I go to the color swatch for the light.
Yeah, man, I want to get my job working. Let's see. Glasses. Visible. Here, let me bring y'all in the studio with me. Ambient. So right then, mine's supposed to go dark. The ambient light, or excuse me, the directional light is turned off. So how could it still be getting light? Oh, wow. I wonder what it could be, because the lights. Put it on the tracker, but that don't do. I don't know. I might be just experiencing a glitch. I don't know. We're gonna keep rocking. We're gonna keep rocking. I'm gonna follow along.
And were to change this color, then you can see we have white glasses, but we're shining a blue light on them. So this is important to keep in mind, that the overall look of what we're seeing in the scene may well be a combination of the material properties and the lighting that's shining on those materials. So if we were to shine a blue light onto a yellow surface, we're going to get something that looks green. So I'll click OK. Let's just leave it on white for now. I'm going to select my glasses model, and let's go back to the material. Double click on the material here to investigate some of the more complicated settings. We're going to look at the specular. Again, that word specular means shininess. I'm going to turn the specular on, and it's now going very bright. We can now play with options like the smoothness. So you can see here how strong or weak. So I'll click OK. Let's just leave it on white for now. I'm going to select my glasses model, and let's go back to the material. Double click on the material here to investigate some of the more complicated settings. We're going to look at the specular. Again, that word specular means shininess. I'm going to turn the specular on, and it's now going very bright. We can now play with options like the smoothness. So you can see here how strong or weak the highlight is, how rough or glossy is that highlight. And you'll see as I turn my smoothness up, what did appear to just be white all over the glasses is now shrinking down to a tighter little highlight. And if we really want to see the difference between the diffuse and the specular contribution to the overall shader look, I could turn my diffuse properties down, make the diffuse maybe a different base color. I can play around with that and kind of craft in a look. So I'm going to go with something a bit orangey maybe, like a dark orange. And we can then see the specular contribution is now much more obvious. That as I turn it to the left, we're getting a much broader, rougher highlight. And as I bring it up to the right, we're getting a smaller, tighter, glossier one. So by playing with...
Where do you see the specular?
Yeah.
Let me pull it. Let me pull up the studio.
Cool.
Yeah, the
Look
model,
up this model.
the properties.
Specular is change your shader type to standard. It's right there under texture, and then check the box under texture. No.
Oh, I see it. Got you. So wait, let me that's why my light wasn't going off. Cause he said that. That's a good learning lesson. So under glass model, I had my material still set to flat.
Oh.
Flat is non-responsive to light.
Yes.
Shader type is what causes that. So when I put it on standard, and then we go back to the ambient light, good troubleshooting. Love that. Love that. Love that. Or directional light. Excuse me. Directional light. All right, bet. So I had the red light on real intense. Okay, cool. There we go. So, but I see that the directional light really only affects the glass, not necessarily my face.
Yeah.
Oh, but is that because my face mesh was set to, that's on blended. So standard. Oh, there we go. So when it's on blended, so that's very important. The shader type is going to be how your whatever is getting affected by the surrounding light.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like it. Okay. So I'll keep it on red. I'll put on 20, 28, whatever.
Your directional light?
Yeah, that's my direction. Facts.
Put your directional light back to white, so you.
Oh, he said white.
Yeah.
Okay.
The effects of the when you do the smoothness and specular.
Oh, okay. Bet. Okay, so then we on glasses model, materials. We on standard. I checked specular.
Yeah.
Specular. Yeah. And then smoothness. Oh, to the glasses. Okay. Oh, because it's making it more or less shiny.
Yeah.
So is the smaller the percentage, the more shiny? Don't it look like it's more shiny right now?
Well,
it's also because my direction of light is pretty low. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's causing it to look so. Okay. Ooh, this thing real. It makes sense because it's really combining the features. Okay, I like this. That's material. Spec. Okay, but
yeah, and then I go to white.
Yeah.
And then, so if you wanted to play around with colors, if you wanted just like a little pop of color real quick, like a little dab of that.
Yeah.
Use smoothness to.
Yeah. Got you. Okay. I wonder what a texture specular mean. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying shit. Alright. Cool. Let me rewind these last few seconds, make sure I catch everything.
Make the diffuse maybe a weak the highlight is. How rough or glossy is that highlight? And you'll see as I turn my smoothness up, what did appear to just be white all over the glasses is now shrinking down to a tighter little highlight. And if we really want to see the difference between the diffuse and the specular contribution to the overall shader look, I could turn my diffuse properties down, make the diffuse maybe a different base color. I can play around with that and kind of craft in a look. So I'm going to go with something a bit orangey maybe, like a dark off. Again, that word specular means shininess. I'm going to turn the specular on, and it's now going very bright. We can now play with options like the smoothness. So you can see here how strong or weak the highlight is, how rough or glossy is that highlight. And you'll see as I turn my smoothness up, what did appear to just be white all over the glasses is now shrinking down to a tighter little highlight. And if we really want to see the difference between the diffuse and the specular contribution to the overall shader look, I could turn my diffuse properties down, make the diffuse maybe a different base color. I can play around with that and kind of craft in a look. So I'm going to go with something a bit orangey, maybe like a dark orange. And we can then see the specular contribution is now much more obvious. So as I turn it to the left, we're getting a much broader, rougher highlight. And as I bring it up to the right, we're getting a smaller, tighter, glossier one. So by playing with all these different properties here, we can describe different types of materials. And so from here, if we would like, we could always save this effect. We've made some good progress looking at textures and at 3D objects. We can keep this and save it for publishing, which we will get to a little bit later. Before then, though, we'd like to look at exploring a few more sophisticated areas of the software so we can publish things that we're really happy with.
This was a good one. This is a good one, man. I feel so I feel like we're about to be on a great journey, bro. Just because I can see how intuitive the software is, and that it's an actual effect. Like every detail is actually going to make or break how your experience turns out and looks and how it appears. So I'm excited, man. Just because every aspect of it is customizable, which means once you have a vision of what you want, this software is powerful enough to allow you to be able to make those changes and those modifications to it. So I'm excited, bro. They cooking up for this to only be the third video. This to only be the second day, and like I can already kind of see the type of capabilities that we're about to have with this. This is definitely about to be extremely powerful. So I'm excited, man. I'm hyped. I hope you guys are just as excited and hyped as we are. But yeah, it's showtime, man. It's showtime. What does that say? Okay, bet. So yeah, man, any questions, any comments, concerns, please feel free. Go ahead and drop it down in the chat, and we'll see y'all tomorrow for day 3, man.